Khenpo Sodargye Soner Munum Khenpo Sodargye Dargam Sando Shirmando Tumba Dukje Janla Ki Sham Sar Shirwa Terni Jankam Sa Jawa Dukji Shin Lo Yilla Jime Punzo Janla Suran Kunki Toban Bor Shinji Lo
In order to benefit all sentient beings, let's give rise to bodhicitta.
我们下面讲这个世尊修法。
Now let's continue with the daily meditation instruction on Shakyamuni Buddha. This practice talks about relying upon visualizing the image of Buddha Shakyamuni and practice shamatha meditation as well as vipassana meditation. And vipassana, in fact, is enlightenment. So just by abiding on meditation and the realization aspect. Why so much noises? Today and tomorrow, the classes are on the daily meditation practice. Saturday, I'll give the oral transmission of Letter to a Friend by Nagarjuna and give the refuge vow. During which I will give you some transmissions of with great merits. Some of the Buddhists over here, I think lots of you whom traveled all the way to here, you must have endured lots of hardship. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Okay, so maybe after the class I will give you some short announcements. Don't clap your hands all the time, okay? Let's now continue with the practice, the actual practice. As we talked yesterday, and the day before, it was on the topic of theory of how to visualize as well as the actual practice. The actual practice of shamatha, which is calm abiding. Also, there are 5 types of insights, the five metaphors, talking about the 5 different kinds of experiences. So today, let's continue. We've already talked about the shamatha. Now we move into the explanation of vipassana. I will give some explanation for the first part, and then you can read the next part on your own. Once you have accomplished shamatha in this way, begin the practice of vipassana. I think many people really like to practice shamatha meditation, but don't really know how to get into vipassana. But today, this instruction is very clear in terms of how to practice vipassana. How should you do so then? The first practice, when you first practice shamatha, you rest your mind using an image of the Buddha's form as a support. use the statue of Shakyamuni Buddha statue like yesterday, even when you are not using a support as the focus, the Buddha's form can still arise as a mental object on which you rest your mind. At the beginning, you have to place the Buddha statue right in front of you and then meditate upon it. And after familiarization with the image of the Buddha, then you don't need to place that in front of you all the time anymore. When, having practiced in whichever way you wish, you finally accomplish shamatha. And at that time, the Buddha's body appears vividly, even without any support, as the characteristic form of samadhi. So at that time, in your mind, you already have such form appear in front of you during meditation, and that Buddha's body's image is very vivid, very clearly and naturally. At first, the form shines vividly and steadily as an object of the mind, like a reflection in a mirror. It's very vivid. You can visualize that in your mind like such. And then, as you familiarize yourself with it more and more, it manifests as an object of your senses as well. Well, at first, we look at the Buddha statue, and then you don't need the Buddha statue as a support anymore. You can just visualize it in your mind. And then not only it would appear in your mind so vividly, it will also appear in front of your sense faculties very vividly as well. That's the second stage. Like something that is actually present. So that object of your senses, when it appears in front of your object of your senses, it's like something that actually is present. If you continue to familiarize yourself when it yet further, the image that you are focusing on becomes perceptible even to other senses in the same way. So the Nyingmapa's teaching is this is the pith instruction from the Nyingmapa's teaching. So it is said that the first clarity appears as a mental object, the second as an object of the senses, and the third as an object of touch. Over here, it is translated into English as touch. But I think maybe the translation is best to be the object of awareness, as is taught in the early translation books on approach and accomplishment. So the early translation is Nyingmapa's teaching. When you accomplish just the first level of clarity, from then on you should practice Vipassana. Consider the form of the Buddha endowed with the marks and signs, beautiful, delightful, vivid, and steadfast, and now appears as a mental object as it actually presents. People have great faith to the Buddha, but without knowing that, in fact, the Buddha is also empty. So it says that this is just the appearance of habitual imprints of your own mind. It's too red.
下面讲，现在我们最关键的是什么呢？
What's most important is that the Buddha statue, the form of the Buddha, this is important to listen. We should not grasp onto the form of the Buddha as something that's solidly existing. Although it appears in front of our eyes, in front of our sense faculty, we see it on the Tanka images on this Buddha statue, but we should not view it as something that intrinsically, solidly existent. We should see that the nature of it is empty. So for those of you who are listening to this class, I really hope that you could understand that, because traditionally, we say that Buddha is solidly existing, and when I die, I ask the Buddha to come and rescue me, and he would receive me, just as the Sukhavati is the solidly existing Pure Land, and there's a solidly existing Buddha who's going to come and welcome me to the Sukhavati Pure Land. But in this class, when we talk about Vipassana, what is Vipassana? When we use such a method to look at the form of the Buddha, when we look at our mind, is in fact devoid of all the four extremes, and in fact everything is illusory and dreamlike. It has 8 metaphors to describe that. Without understanding to such profundity of this teaching, you won't be able to understand what the Dharma is. So it says that this is just the appearance of habitual imprints in your own mind. It has not come from anywhere, nor does it go anywhere. When examined, it is isolated. It is not found anywhere at all, inside or out. In fact, the Buddha's form is not coming, not going, non-born, and no cessation. You cannot find it from inside nor outside. You cannot find anything. You cannot find it anywhere, just like the space. After a long time practice and long time familiarization with the Buddha statue, the image, it appears in front of us. So in the same way, the appearance of Buddha in the world due to the power of interdependent arising of source of virtue based on being's pure intention, and together with the Buddha's great aspiration made in the past, and just as when someone's reflection appears in a clear mirror, when we study the praise of a co-arising, you probably already studied that. What is the most important teaching of the Buddha? It is, in fact, that it is dependent arising. That's the most important. Things could appear very vividly, but the nature of it is empty. Once we understand such profundity of the dependent arising, then we can practice upon it. So I really hope that Buddhists should listen and contemplate and then practice. So to the extent that you are not relying upon anyone else or anything else, but your own wisdom and practice, and then at that time you will be able to see that this is the nature of mind, this is the nature of all phenomena. And at that time you don't need anyone else's suggestions or guide or help or anything. You will be able to help yourself. So the Buddha statue appears in this world due to the power of the interdependent arising, and it's because how we then familiarize ourselves with such virtue. The mind to which it appears to when examined is not found anywhere inside or out, since it is devoid of any basis or root. What need is there to speak of what appears or not? In fact, whenever we observe the mind cannot be found anywhere either. If the mind cannot be found, then the image of the Buddha, how could that be found anywhere that is solidly existing either? Although it appears to be something solid, its something that cannot be destroyed. But when you observe it with your wisdom, you'll be able to notice that all phenomena are no other than your mind, and mind is nowhere to be found. In such a way, ultimately, the mind is just like is nowhere to be found, and it is empty, but relatively it manifests and appears. And this appearance, now I think we're getting to be very deep. I know that lots of you probably prostrate to the Buddha Shakyamuni and chant the mantra and supplicate. But have you ever contemplated this, that in fact the Buddha Shakyamuni is no other than your mind, and when you observe your mind, that is nowhere to be found? I know many people who study the Dharma for 1, 2, or 3 decades, and some people told me that they've studied for a long period of time. I noticed their hair are all gray and very wrinkly, and but other than looking at the Buddha, have you ever contemplated on the empty aspect of the Buddha? Because without understanding such nature of the Buddha and all phenomena, then it's very difficult to attain liberation. I really hope that you should familiarize yourself and practice upon this. This class is only working as a guideline, as a way to give you some pointers, but you have to familiarize it yourself in your own time. Just as when you go to any workshop, the teacher will give you some pointers, and afterwards you have to read the whole manual yourself and digest the whole content of the information that was taught in the class. For any kind of knowledge, you need to go through such procedures. So I really encourage you to practice. So in the same way, the appearance of the Buddha in the world is due to the power of interdependent arising of sources of virtue based on being's pure intention, together with Buddha's great aspiration made of the past, just as when someone's reflection appears in a clear mirror. This is, in fact, also quite important. Many people would say that, how could you say that the Buddha is not existent? The Buddha was born back 2,600 years back, and he was a prince, and he then taught the Dharma later and lived in this world for 89 years. Are those all false? In fact, that's not true, because of that people's virtuous deeds and the Buddha's great aspiration made such reflection appear, just like it is in a clear mirror. Although in a worldly being's domain experience, it does indeed appear. It indeed appear undeceiving. The Tathagata does not have any ordinary aggregates, elements, or sense sources. Some scholars and Western academics, I really wanted to suggest them to study Madhyamika or some Buddhist text, because I don't want them to just guess the secret meaning or deep meaning of Shakyamuni Buddha based on their conceptual thoughts. because only by flipping through some dictionaries and flipping through some historic texts and come out with some conclusions, I have to say they're really diligent, and that spirit is very good. I went to some professor's office in the West, and I see that they have piles of books. Some books have some notes, and some of them have notes. Maybe on one hand, they just want to show that they've studied enough resources, but I think the way they study and the spirit that they study is, in fact, quite admirable. What are you doing there? So as mundane beings, when we see the Dharmakaya, the Nirmanakaya, and the changes of the Rupakaya's changes, and the 12 Ds and the characteristics and so on, as mundane beings, it's very difficult to just guess what it really means with our conceptual thoughts. In the Sutra of the Ornament of Appearances of Wisdom, it says that the Tathagata, by inexhaustible virtue, is a reflection of dharmas. Since there is no thusness at Tathata, that there is also no Tathagata. In all worlds, he appears only as a reflection. In the samadhi in which the present Buddha abides directly, in this sutra it says that Buddha's bodhi are analyzed by mind. Mind as well is completely pure, naturally luminous, stainless, and not merged with conceptual thoughts. Once knowing this, whomsoever knows this will attain supreme awakening, the bodhi, Buddhahood. We must examine this with supreme knowledge and understand it. In the Vajracchedika or Diamond Sutra, it says that for those of you who think that you've seen the Buddha by its form, then you are not seeing the true Buddha. I think you must be really confused. What does that mean? Because yesterday we said that upon seeing the form of the Buddha, you've already seen the true form of the Buddha. But why are you saying that seeing the form is not seeing the true Buddha now? In fact, it is not contradicting at all. Later on, it will talk about how, in this text, it will talk about the 8 kinds of metaphors of illusion. The Buddha is such luminosity, and it is not then mixed with our conceptual mind. We must examine this with supreme knowledge and understand it. Having understood it, just as it is with Tathagata, we will see that all phenomena of appearance and existence that are contained with the aggregates, elements, and sense sources also appear in the world and are experienced as they are through the force of interdependent origination. We said that the Tathagata appears like a dream and like illusion. In fact, not only the Tathagata, all the phenomena, everything that's included in this world, whatever we see, are all then illusory and dreamlike. The sentient beings, doesn't matter if it's from your own aggregates, elements, and sense sources, or other people's aggregate senses and elements. In fact, all of those are illusory and dreamlike. Yet all these phenomena are no more than mere appearances coming about due to the interdependent arising of their individual causes and conditions. And when they are properly examined, we don't find even so much as a single atom that you can find at all. We should use the Madhyamika's analysis or methods of logic to analyze such teachings. For the after-class discussion group, I often walk around and listen to their presentations, and I notice that they really do have a firm understanding of Madhyamika, because through the Madhyamika teachings and through such ways of observation of the Madhyamika method, you'll be able to see what it is talking about. Lots of our Sangha members are really young. I think if you study, it shouldn't be so difficult for you because you're really young. But unfortunately, many people are then practicing in the non-drill, and they're enrolled in the non-drill class, the preliminary classes, and then some of them are in the practice classes. They don't want to enter the 5 treatises classes to study these profound teachings. Rather, they just want to chant Amitabha's name so that they can once they die, they can be born in Pure Land. During Phuntsog Rinpoche's time, young people would study in the Sukhavati class, and old seniors, they would enroll in the 5 treatises classes. I see that there were seniors who don't even have one tooth left, or maybe just one tooth left. They really wanted to debate with others, so they enroll in the Buddhist logic class. And young people, on contrary, the young ones, they just want to chant Amitabha 100,000 Amitabha mantras. The singer from Lhasa is here. The celebrity. How fortunate we are, we're now participating in the free concert of his. Just as with magical illusions and appearances during a dream, in reality there is no going or coming, or rising or ceasing, and so forth at all. Nevertheless, childish, ordinary beings and foolish people who cling to the appearances as existing the way they appear and who have forsaken individual analysis. In fact, nowadays, people whomsoever grasp onto the appearances, they really grasp onto the ceasing and arising, the birth and death. My family member died today, I'm so heartbroken. That's how they feel. But once you understand emptiness, you will see arising and ceasing in front of you. You will see such appearance, such as when a new baby is born, everyone's so happy and congratulates and make their congratulations. So when someone dies, everyone shows their condolences and so on. But once you understand emptiness, on one hand, yes, it's natural law that if there is a birth, there is death. But once you understand emptiness, then you see the birthless nature of such phenomena. Once you understand this, then whatever happens in this world, your life won't disappoint you or make you feel hopeless and commit suicide. You won't do that at all. So in this world, it's quite important to grasp onto the teaching of Madhyamika, the teaching on impermanence, the teachings on emptiness. It's really important because when you look at this world, it's changing ever so fast. Let it be economy, wealth, and many other things. it would incline really quickly and decline really quickly as well. It changes all the time. The ups and downs of our life happens so fast. Do not see your life in a way that, well, my life is not going so well, and then you lost heart. It's not necessary, because this is just the nature. It is as if a person with cataracts has many people without understanding, then it's in fact quite difficult. So it is as a person with cataracts has no notion that falling hair with affects their which affect their vision should be removed. Throughout beginningless time, our minds have been tainted by cataracts of ignorance, as a result of which we do not know how things genuinely are. During the practice, whatever appears, it's very good. Just as Tilopa said, whatever appears, do not grasp you. It is the attachment that grasps you. So, Naropa, you should abandon the grasping. You should abandon such attachment. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. People would feel that everything's gone, it's voidness, it's nothing. In fact, that's not true, because as it appears, it is empty. For some people who think that they have already realized the truth of emptiness because they see how everything is completely gone. That's not true. That's not emptiness. Maybe for those of you who would think who think that you've already realized the emptiness, maybe it's different than how you feel it. Having seen this, they realize that all phenomena are naturally and primordially unborn. The sutra requested by Avanatapata says, whatever was born from condition was not born. The Buddha said that whatever is conditioned, they are empty. It's quite important, because whatever is conditioned, they are all empty. In Prajna Paramita, the mother of Victoria once, the Prajna Paramita, it says that all phenomena are like illusions and dreams. Nirvana, as well as it is like an illusion and dream. This is very, I quote from it very often, so I'm not going to expand on it too much. Furthermore, from King of Samadhi Sutra, it says that just like mirage cities of Gandharvas, like magical illusions, like dreams, conceptual meditation is essentially empty. Understand all phenomena to be like this. Whatever happens in your life, whatever appears, just view it as magical illusions, like dreams. In the root knowledge of the middle way, it is taught that it is like a dream, like magic, like a magical display, like a city of Gandharva, just so both arising and dwelling, and likewise destruction, all were taught to be like this. Previously, I think we've also studied this. I myself really gained lots of benefits and understanding from this stanza. No matter how the Buddha's body appears to the mind, therefore, all acts of focusing on it are not existent from the beginning. It doesn't have any intrinsic existence. And all phenomena are the same, ourselves included. Whatever is one's own nature is the nature of the Buddha. I think this is quite fresh to your ears as well. your own nature is the same nature as the Buddha. And what is the nature? The nature is empty. Once you attain such realization, then you can call it vipassana. Without uniting shamatha and vipassana, you won't be able to succeed in your practice. When Tsongkhapa, during his composing of the instructions, he was going fine with all of the previous chapters until when he reached to the chapter of vipassana. And then Manjushri appeared in front of him saying that this teaching is too difficult, so you should really change it. And his deity then appears saying that I think there's still people who's going to get it. That is during his composition of Lamrim. It does have some aspects of vipassana teaching in Lamrim, and it is composed in a way that is in a way of giving peace instructions. You cannot only have shamatha or only vipassana. It's gravely important to unite both shamatha and vipassana. From the Sutra of Ornament of Appearances of Wisdom, it says that permanently unborn phenomena are the Tathagata. All phenomena are like the Sugata. Those with childish minds who grasp at characteristics interact with the phenomena that do not exist throughout all worlds. Within this text, in fact, it includes many of the teachings that I can recite. I stopped my Tibetan Weibo, which has lots of the teachings, because of the International Children's Day, and I was really busy. But today I've seen lots of my old friends appearing over here. Maybe the Tibetan Weibo would then continue for a bit more. Maybe this year will be a little bit difficult because all the old ones that I can recite, I've already used it. The ones that I really enjoyed were all published in the little booklet of 365 diamonds, which I posted every day last year. But this year, maybe diamonds are a little bit difficult to rediscover. So this year, if it is less than 364, then it is because I couldn't find the ones that really touches me. But over here, this one I really like. So the childish mundane beings, they grasp onto the phenomena as it truly existent, although it is just like the horn of air or hair of a tortoise. In this world, we see ourselves, which is non-existent, as existent. We see what is defiled as undefiled. We see what is impermanent as permanent. And we see what is suffering as blissful. All of these are the graspings of mundane beings. Maybe within my audience, there are bodhisattvas who's laughing at my teaching right now. Maybe I should stop. But what it means here is that the childish mind would grasp at the truly existent characteristics of all phenomena. And the next teaching verses is from the condensed Prajna Paramita. which was then translated in 2002 into Chinese. It says, understand all sentient beings to be like oneself, understand all phenomena to be like sentient beings, not conceptualizing things as either unborn or born. This is the practice of supreme prajna paramita. And then from the root knowledge of middle way, whoever forms a mental construction about Buddha who is beyond constructs and inexhaustible will be brought down by their construct. In the nature of the Tathagata, in fact, the Buddha is no rising, no ceasing. The phenomena is no rising, no ceasing. In the nature, there is no difference of the Tathagata's nature and the phenomena's nature. This is taught in the Vajrayana teachings as well as the Madhyamika teachings. The things that we fear the most in the mundane world, such as suffering and afflictions, as long as you can understand the nature of all phenomena, then it is not fearful anymore. In the Sutrayana, where afflictions are the most fearful, but in Vajrayana, once you see the nature of afflictions, you no longer afraid of it. In fact, that's no other than how mind grasps onto things. It's the different tendency of how your mind grasps onto things. Just as the clouds would temporarily block the sun, but the sun never went away. So in Zen, in Mahaati, you can see that the nature of you can see afflictions and nirvana is no difference because the nature is no difference. In the natural state, the ultimate nature, all phenomena are perfectly equal in the Dharmadhatu, the basic space of phenomena that is beyond all the webs of mental constructs, such as the notion of being born, unborn, and so on. From the sutra requested by Sagaramati, it says that Dharma is stainless, pure, virtuous, naturally luminous, like the sky, equal, and primordially unarising, unborn, unarisen, without abiding, and without ceasing. This is the victorious one, stainless, unwavering seal. And from Avatamsaka Sutra, it says that fine and crystalline, the path of great sages, non-conceptual, non-conceived, difficult to look at, naturally peaceful, without ceasing, without arising. It is realized by the wise who clearly understand, empty of essence, peaceful, devoid of suffering, free from continuum, equal nirvana, free from center and extreme, inexpressible, free throughout the three times like the sky. The nature of it is empty of essence. These kind of teachings, I think for those of you who never studied Madhyamika, or the ones who never really studied anything on the subject of emptiness, you probably are completely confused by now. For those of you who've studied Madhyamika or had some insights, he was crying earlier and now he's laughing. This is quite impermanent, isn't it? Isn't it? In fact, we all went through that stage, isn't it? We should feel quite grateful to our mothers who patiently took care of us. Yesterday was the anniversary of my mother's death. She passed away for 3 years now. I asked people to chant Mani or Om Mani Padme Hum for my mom. And when we dedicate the merit, I really request all of you to dedicate the merit to not only my mother, but people within our Sangha and not within our Sangha who passed away in the last year or before. We should then make a great dedication of merit. I think this would be a great practice because this is good for all the sentient beings as well as for your own parents and so on. Sometimes I think I often have reminiscence of my parents when I see, for example, in the summer, there are flowers in the grassland, and I would remember what kind of flowers she used to like. And when I went to the primary school, and I saw lots of beautiful flowers where my mother taught the names of those flowers to me. And during noon, someone gave me some Tibetan fritters. That's oil-fried fritters. Those are the ones that my mother used to like. When the parents are still in this world, I think we tend to ignore them very much. But when they pass away, then the little trivial things in life could bring lots of reminiscence. So when the little boy was crying earlier, I really remembered how my mother must have taken care of me, because when the young child cries, it would bring lots of concern and trouble to the parents, but they still took care of us. Our childhood was infused with all those memories of our parents. It's been 3 years. I think I can accept it. And when I looked back at the Weibo, it has about 70 million of clickings. I'm not sure if they've all chanted the 6 syllables mantra for him, but if they did, then it definitely would bring great merit to him. So I really think that if we can dedicate our merits to the sentient beings who are just like our old mothers, that would be great. Anyhow, that was a divert based by the singing of the little angel who was crying and laughing earlier. And from the sutra spoken in the presence of Noble Rahula, it says that inconceivable, inexpressible, the prajna paramita, unborn, unceasing, the nature of space, the object of wisdom, of individual self-awareness, to the mother of victorious ones of 3 times that prostrate. This is usually chanted at the beginning of the Heart Sutra in the Tibetan sadhana. It talks about the 5 kinds of characteristics of ultimate truth. So the first one is self-aware. It's not based on anything else. It is peaceful and unceasing, and not elaborated, free from concepts, devoid of polarity. So that is taught by Nagarjuna. Once you read these teachings, for those of you who really enjoy familiarizing yourself with such teaching, for those of you who really enjoy reading this, then I think slowly and slowly you would accumulate great understanding of such emptiness, and you are not so far from liberation anymore. Just as there are people who don't really earn much, but slowly they would save up little by little, and they'll be able to accumulate a great wealth. Similarly, for For Buddhists who are not really great in their merit to begin with, maybe not with the great faith, maybe not with great wisdom, and so on. But if you could accumulate this little by little every day, then you will also get closer to liberation. Accordingly, the yogi who resolves thusness, that which is beyond all expressions, elaborations, and objects of focus, at first by means of samadhi, that realize all phenomena to be like illusions, rests in equanimity on the Tathagata's illusory body. It's quite important to know that it is illusory like. He or she should look at the body of Tathagata and then, when listening to the Dharma and so forth, train in the manifestation of illusory objects of experience or train in the action of illusion. As I said earlier, I really think that we should study one of the 7 treasures, that is the treasure of resting. The 3 rests, the resting the mind in illusion. I think we should study that this year. Of course, you have to have the inner experience of it, because if you were only to have some kind of certificates of refuge, but your mind is not changed, your action is rude. If you were such kind of Buddhist, then why to study Buddha Dharma? The true Buddhist should have very tamed behavior, very gentle, and that's the external appearance or external behavior. And inwardly, a Buddhist then should have a really profound understanding of the emptiness. So this is what we should aim for. If the yogi then rests in the inexpressible equanimity, the emptiness that is to be individually recognized is that manner, he or she will attain the patience towards the Dharma that is accordant with Dharma, and owing to that there is no doubt that before long the yogi will attain in actuality the wisdom of the path of seeing. So the path of seeing is still quite far away, but still it will slowly unfold if you continue to practice as such. This is clearly explained in the 5th instruction for taking into experience the meaning of samadhi, in which the present Buddha abides directly, and the same arrangement as samadhi. And the next part I will teach a little bit, but you have to look into it yourself. First, we already talked about the Buddha, and the Shakyamuni Buddha is no other than any other Buddha or any other deities. And yesterday then we talked about shamatha, the 5th instruction of shamatha, and then today we talked about the 5th instruction of vipassana. No matter what, I would like to give you some suggestions. It's a suggestion, not a rule. But what I would suggest you is that, first of all, wherever you go, I really hope that you could carry an image of Buddha Shakyamuni. It's quite important, although sometimes I would call upon you to take the Tara or the Pamasambhava or so on. But it's quite important to also remember our root teacher, that is the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha. You can have a small one or a large one based on your capacity, or you can have the picture of the Buddha on your computer screen. In the Gadampa tradition, they usually carry three things with them all the time. One is the Prajnaparamita, and the other one is the stupa, and then the third one is Shakyamuni Buddha. I think nowadays everyone really carry lots of stuff, carry lots of things. One big bag on the left, and one big bag on the right, and one gigantic bag on the back. And they would bring everything to get blessings. I really don't want you to bring lots of these souvenirs or blessed objects to get blessings, because whenever I go outside, I don't really want to buy things for people. I don't really want to give gifts because people whomsoever receive it probably don't like what I get for them, and people whomsoever did not receive it would all be very upset about me. So nowadays I don't give anything. Therefore, I would encourage the same thing for you as well. I know you are here now to get all your objects and consecrated, but when you give to other people, maybe they won't like it. When I went to United States, I always had such a dilemma: should I buy things or not? Should I give to this one or not? So all these kind of afflictions and conflicts. It's good that you have such faith and grasping towards the Buddha statue or mala or some kind of object. So of course it's wonderful that you believe that you have faith that it brings blessings, but according to Pamasambhava, these kind of forms are important, including looking at the calendar and so on. Some of them are so having such forms with you, or holding onto such kind of grasping towards such kind of forms is also good, because we're not liberated. We have not really realized emptiness yet. Therefore, it's quite important to carry the Buddha statue. Every time when I teach any kind of teaching or sadhana, I also carry lots of statues. I carry Shakyamuni Buddha, I carry Pamasambhava as well as Manjushri around with me whenever I go outside. I have great graspings towards all of them. It's just as lots of our Sangha members, who would wear a necklace of different pictures of deities. Pamasambhava, here's Tara, here's Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani and so on, all over the neck. And according to the Sutra for Lion's Roar, it says that the longing of seeing, the longing to see the Tathagata's form is already the Buddha, and if you have such high realization, then maybe it's fine for you not to wear any Buddha statue. But if you're not attain such realization, then it's still quite important to wear the Shakyamuni Buddha's image, or take it with you wherever you go. Second thing I would like to say is that in mainland or in Tibet, on the Tibetan plateau, we don't really have lots of celebrations of Shakyamuni Buddha, although we have many different Dharma assemblies and pujas with different deities and so on. But really, let's think about it. We have the closest connection to Shakyamuni Buddha. We have different Dharma assemblies with Amitabha, with Vajrasattva, with Avalokiteshvara, and so on. But we don't have as many Dharma assembly or retreats where we can just chant Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra. Maybe in Theravada tradition they have more, but I would really want you to try your best to chant Shakyamuni Buddha's name and prostrate to the image of Shakyamuni's Buddha's image, or chant Muni Muni Mahamuni Soha, that's the mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha, or you can chant, supplicate, prostrate to Shakyamuni Buddha and the name of Shakyamuni Buddha and so on. I think as Buddhists, we should really have great faith towards Shakyamuni Buddha, who is the Buddha who took us under refuge. It is, in fact, Shakyamuni Buddha. And if we could supplicate to the Buddha Shakyamuni, then lots of blessings would swiftly appear. I myself have great faith towards Shakyamuni Buddha because I know that whatever happens in my life, I would never give up my faith towards Shakyamuni Buddha. We should remember that. This is second. I would like to address the third aspect I would like to address is that as Buddhists, if you only chant Buddha's name, only practice the Buddha's Shakyamuni Buddha sadhana, and completely forget about the society, then I don't think it's workable. If you only care about your own mantra number, your own practice, and don't care about everyone else in the society, our entire group of Buddhists will then not be able to find any place in the society anymore. Just as Jewish and Hindus, they all have this kind of a tendency to help each other out. In the overseas Chinese communities, I noticed that lots of Chinese don't really help each other out, just as how completely different than how Indians would help their friends to find jobs and so on. But the Chinese don't really do that. For Buddhists, our world, I'm not sure how to express it. Our world is very complex right now, very uncertain. Family, wealth, appearance, many uncertainties. In such kind of a world, as Buddhists, though we talk about illusion, we talk about dreams, but whenever it appears in front of us, it's very real, such as if your family ever had to go through any changes, or your career, or your mentality. At that time, can you remember illusion? In fact, at that time, everything seems just all too real. So whenever things happen like that, I really think that we should have a mind to benefit others. As long as we have the altruistic mind, then we'll be able to find limitless ways. I myself, maybe I'm just a very superficial monastic because I really care about education. I care about the society's development and everyone's well-being. It's really none of my business, but I really think Buddhists should then care about education, care about unemployment, care about people with broken hearts, people with broken faith. I see nowadays many Buddhists with great merits in terms of wealth. Then if you have such capacity, you should really spare your effort to help Buddhists and non-Buddhists alike. When I see that lots of Buddhists who have great capacity and have their own factories and their own corporations, they are then able to provide lots of job opportunities to young people, which is quite important in the society. Sharing of resources is quite important for Buddhists. Share your resources to Buddhists and non-Buddhists alike. It doesn't matter if they have faith or not. Nowadays, we are in this great bipolar of wealthy and the poor, or wealth and poverty. When lots of people don't really have a way to find their livelihood. And when capable Buddhists see that, I really encourage you to generate a helping mind to help others. I know there are too many people who are suffering, too many people who are poor, but if you could help even one person, one patient, two university students who are unable to pay their tuition, within 3 years, if I can just spare some money to help one student to finish the university, maybe that student don't even know who you are, but it doesn't matter. But it will be very meaningful in terms of action. If you can help some lost person to guide that person onto the correct path, that's also helping others. So I really call upon all of you to be more active socially, to help out others. I know lots of people who are spending lots of time and effort in building centers, in helping Buddhists and non-Buddhists, continuously helping others. Of course, you should be prepared beforehand. In fact, helping everyone is not that easy. When you do not see anyone, your life is peaceful, it's easy. But when you're helping others, when you are in this society and interacting with others, you definitely encounter obstacles and have some afflictions, but that's just very normal. That's just the kind of course you have to go through. Around noon, a lay practitioner told me, saying that the core of practice is benefiting others. That's the two words that's most important. I really agree. That's really the core of Mahayana Buddhism, that is benefiting others. If you understand these two words and take this into your heart, for the ones who are capable or even not capable, as long as you generate such heart, and it would be very strong. generating such mind is very powerful. Next, daily practice of visualizing the Buddha. I will very quickly give you some guidelines. Over here, it talks about the actual practice of Shakyamuni Buddha Satna. At first, it has taken refuge, generating bodhicitta, and the 4 immeasurables, as well as the 7 branches of offering. After 7 branches of offering, you should then recite the Buddha's name, as well as chanting the mantra, and you should visualize the merit of Tathagata. When it talks about the merit of the Tathagata, it talks about the Tathagata would then send out many rays of lights. In the 30th volume of Great Heap Sutra, it then talks quite detailedly about all different kinds of lights. Each different light has its name and has its very different reasons and causes, such as the pure bright light is the pristine eyes, light or pristine ears. Those are based on the offering lamps and offering beautiful sounds, and pristine taste is offering clean food. Those are all based on the previous offering and previous merits that's accumulated by the Tathagata. In the Great Heap Sutra, it talks about how the different lights could benefit sentient beings. This is extensively taught also in the Avatamsaka Sutra, as well as many different sutras. It talks quite extensively about different lights and the causes of having such merits of these lights. At the end, after such, you should also make offering of the mandala and supplicate and make aspiration and so on. But one difference is that there's no need to request the Buddha to visualize the Buddha to go back to the Pure Land and dissolve or so on, because in some sadhanas it requires how you should then visualize the deity then sent back to the Pure Land or dissolving, such as in words of my perfect teacher, it says that how the light would then dissolve into the deity, and the deity would dissolve and so on. But over here, you don't have to visualize dissolving, because the nature of the Buddha's body is no coming, no going, no rising or decreasing. Therefore, you can call the Buddha in any place or time. So over here, it is a little bit different than the sadhana of generation or the sadhana of perfection stage. So for those of you who cannot visualize all of those said above or practice accordingly, at least then you can meditate upon the concepts of the Four Noble Truths, the impermanence, suffering, emptiness, and selflessness. As well as the concept of nirvana and peace. And then later on, it talks about different signs of dreams. It's a sutra called Accomplishing the Fourth Noble Ones. It talks quite a bit of the signs in different dreams in 4 verses. Everything is very similar. There's only one place that is a little bit different. At the very end, I also made a small notation where it where it has a name for a particular bird, but after checking up, and the English version, in fact, it talks about this bird is a chicken, but the Chinese translated version is it says seeing a chicken encircling by Indian jays. But over here, this translation in the Mahayana for Method Sutra, which is another name that's translated into Chinese, is it says that seeing people encircling you. So those are the good signs of dream, and it also talks about a different meanings of such kind of signs, such as the signs of subduing Maras, and the signs of the dream, which means eliminating afflictions and so on. So it talks about a different kind of dreams. And it's taught that just one such dream makes a purification of one of the 5 evil deeds of immediate duration, while 5 such dreams indicates the purification of all 5 evil deeds. This should also be understood according to the dream chapter of Jewel Mound Sutra and other such texts. I don't think I had lots of dreams of different deities or Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but I, in fact, dream a lot about my gurus, including last night I also dreamt of Ponsokar Rinpoche. Some of those dreams are very clear and vivid, and some are not as. Dreams are, well, forms as well, manifestations, appearances that I don't really grasp onto them too much. But whenever I do have lots of good dreams as well as bad dreams. But it is true that whenever I have bad dreams, I tend to get sick very easily. In the Sixth Bardo, the teachings on the Sixth Bardo, it talks quite a bit about different signs of dreams. I think through such teachings, we can notice how some dreams are pure, some are rather defiled, some are undefiled. If you were to dream some Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, or your gurus, then it shows your pure devotion. And if you were to have lots of anger, lots of greed, and lots of ignorance, then you'll be easily having nightmares. Anyhow, while you're practicing the sadhana of Shakyamuni Buddha, I think lots of auspicious dreams would appear, those good dreams. Those are the things that you should know. The Jewel Mound Sutra and other texts you should understand according to these books. So you should really read into it yourself.